If you have a Pinterest account and you're blogging, the last thing you want to be doing is repinning every single pin to a bunch of different boards. I know we did that back in the day, but today that is not what we do. So in this video, I'm going to show you a very specific strategy that I use to find my top performing pins and then determine what boards those pins should be repinned on, because the only pins that we should be repinning are the ones that are making us money, that are generating clicks, that are getting saves. So that's what we're going to do in this video today. I was working on this morning and I'm going to show you the exact process. So first step is identifying which pins are already doing well for you. And there's several ways that we can go about doing this. But this morning, what I was doing is I was actually in just all pins. I just decided, let me just go play with it without the analytics for a second. We're going to open the analytics in a minute. But let me just go down and kind of eyeball what's working. The reason why I do this, and I'm going to scroll down kind of to like a starting point of where I would start. The reason why I do this is because when I go through all of my pins that are ranking using software, I kind of get lost in it. There's just so much of it. But when I eyeball, I'm kind of getting some lessons here, like as I'm looking at them. So this is a good place to start. What I'm looking for is, I don't want to start at the top of my all pins because those pins haven't had an opportunity yet to get ranked, to pull up annotations, to land on, in the For You pages. So we want to make sure that we're getting pins that are already getting impressions, that are already getting some clicks, that are already getting some saves. So go down to at least, I don't know where your accounts are at. My account is getting quite a bit of clicks. I'm making a couple $1,000s a month now through Google ads and affiliate income. And now it's growing quite rapidly now that it's kind of established. This started as a test study. Like, let me just see if I can use AI. Let me see if we can blog on here and make money. And now that I'm really active in it. So I scroll down to kind of like where I'm seeing a couple hundred, maybe 1,000. Some of these will be outliers, 3,000. Sometimes we'll have more, but this is kind of like where I want to go play right now, let's just say. So I scroll down and I go, okay, let's go see what's actually working. This one, let's do this one first because it's smaller, right? But it's just now starting to really get traction, and it's got a save, it's got some clicks. So what I do is I right click and I open in a new tab. Now, for those of you that are using AI, I'm just going to tell you the way I'm doing it. You do whatever you want. I am deleting the ones that get tagged as AI modified because my experience is that I'm not getting clicks and impressions on them once they are marked as AI modified. And I have enough pins circulating that I'm not overly concerned about it. Now, you also could just move them to a board where you save them for later to see what happens. It's your call. I just kind of want to be able to sort this a little bit easier, and getting rid of those just seems to make the most sense today. That might change later on, but that's what I'm doing. So how would I know if this is actually getting any clicks, right? Because this is a couple months old or a few months old maybe. So here's the way I do it. I'm going to put all these tool links in the description below. I'm using a tool here called Clicky, and it's kind of like a Google Analytics, but it's so much easier to use, and it's a much better tool for me to move around on. So down here under content, I'm going to type in, like, let's see what the title of this one is. 7 color schemes for hippie. I'll just open the blog post to see what the name of this is, to pull up in the URL. Okay, hippie garden colors. So I'm going to go up here and I'm just going to type in the word hippie. Is that pin? See, nothing. This one's DIY garden ornaments. Oh, let me pull up, sorry, for the last 7 days. You could do 7 days, you could do 28 days, but my studies on this so far show me that once it's marked as AI modified, it stops going out through the feed. Now, I have multiple images connected to this blog, so I don't know which ones might be AI modified and which ones might not. So since I am getting traction right now, I'm not going to mess with this pin just yet. If I pulled this up and there was nothing coming through in the last 28 days for hippie, then I would know that that pin's getting absolutely no traffic. But I'm also not going to repin it right now because it's AI modified. So again, I'm just sharing with you what my what I'm doing at this moment. Okay. So I'm going to get out of that one. I'm just going to kind of leave that one here right now. I'm not going to mess with it at the moment until I go in and better identify, do I have other pins that are bringing me in that traffic, or is that one still functioning somehow? Let's look at this one, 7 easy fabric crafts. I'm going to open in a new tab and I'm going to right click. Okay, perfect. Not marked as AI modified. Something that I'm finding too is I feel like when we put a footer in here, oftentimes it doesn't get marked as AI modified. I also think having it look more like a Canva pin than an AI, font that doesn't have the background and whatnot. Those are just some of the things that I'm finding so far. Okay, so up here, every pin has a URL. And if you're not doing AI, then don't even worry about the AI pieces in this video, but a lot of you guys are. So pull up this Pinterest URL up at the top. Each pin is technically its own web page on the internet. So it will have its own web address, its own page address, its own URL, we call that, right? So pull that up here. It's kind of like it's part of Pinterest, but this is how we identify it. Then we're going to open PinClicks, and I have a link to PinClicks below. And I'm going to go right here to pin stats. I'm going to open that in a new tab because we're going to use a couple of the tools that are here within PinClicks. I'm going to put the URL right here under pin stats. And what this is going to do is PinClicks is going to pull up my pin. And it's basically going to show me what is happening with that pin, just kind of as averages, and what Pinterest thinks it's about. Okay, so if I go down here and I hover over this image, watch what happens. It pops up these annotations. So scrap fabric ideas. Isn't that interesting? Because all I have on the image is the word fabric crafts, but if you look at the image, those do look like scraps underneath it. There is a good idea. Oh, and you know what else? Look at the description. Got scrap fabric. So without realizing that I was kind of helping Pinterest categorize this pin under scrap fabrics, that's what I did because that description. So this is why we're always saying the text on your image matters, the image on the image matters, the title of your pin matters, and the description of your pin matters. I do not think this would have put me under scrap fabric ideas if I hadn't put that in the description here. Now, again, I live in my analytics, so I'm not just creating, I am studying this. So this is why I think I'm very helpful when I share these videos, is because of my love for analytics and studying in the background. And this is what I coach in my coaching program, by the way, Ballen Blueprint. There's a link below. We have two-hour calls every other Thursday. We have a call, and then I have resources and trainings. You get all my ebooks. So it's really a great value for you. So what I would do next is I come down here and I go scrap fabric ideas. All right, let's go poke around at this. So I go to Keyword Explorer inside PinClicks and I type something in like that first word, scrap fabric. Let's just go with scrap fabric. This is how I find all of my new board ideas, because I take pins that are already working and then I find boards that I didn't even think about, and I create the new boards from there. Okay, so look at the very first one. This is genius because I'm also ranking well for a scrap fabric quilt. That tells me this is worth creating a board on. So what I'm looking for typically is I like to see this is search volume. Now just remember, everything is estimates. We also know that there's a smart feed, a For You page, and Pinterest is showing pins that are most relative to that person for a bunch of different reasons. But this is working for me. I'm kind of looking at search volume around the 20K and up mark to start really building out a new board. Now, this one might be worth doing, scrap fabric crafts, but it would depend. If this one wasn't here, like I didn't have one higher up, I'd probably start with that one and just see what it does. And then I'm not going to build boards around any of these other things because they're just too small. It would make more sense just for all the pins to go on my scrap fabric craft board than to create all these separate little boards that probably aren't going to do a whole lot. So I'm looking at this one, scrap fabric projects. I never would have thought of that keyword. So here's what I do. I click on Save Keyword, and then I put it in a list to do. What that means is, in my case, I'm not ranking for that term yet, but I want to. So I put it in the to-do. And now my next step is, let me go start a new board for that term. So I'm going to use the pin that Pinterest has already told me, PinClicks has already told me through Pinterest, or vice versa, that this is going to be good on scrap fabrics. Okay. So what I do is I click this little arrow and we're going to go to create a new board right from here. And what is that board going to be called? It's going to be called Scrap Fabric Projects. So I'm going to title that Scrap. What did I just say? Scrap Fabric Products. And then I'm going to click create. Now let me show you what I would do with this board after the fact. Okay. So now to get to our boards, I'm going to go up here to my little face here and we're going to click on saved. This is where all of our Pinterest boards are. Now, what I've been testing is, do the boards really matter? If I move a Pinterest pin that's doing well over to another board, do I lose ranking? Does it increase ranking? What happens? That's kind of where this test is with all of these boards. Not to mention, people will follow a board and they will come click on that board and see what you've been putting on that board. Okay, so I'm testing all this at a very high level just to see how much does the exact match matter. So this is where this comes in. So here's our board, Scrap Fabric Products. Let me click on here and then I'm going to edit this board, because your boards rank as well as your pins. Your boards can rank on other platforms. So think of it, if you're a blogger and you understand posts and categories, and you know how your posts can rank, your categories can rank, your tags can rank. That's kind of this idea as well. Okay. Now, first thing I'm going to do is create a board cover, and I'm going to do that by pulling in that image, that pin, fabric craft. So it ties in very well. It's got the keyword in it. I'm going to go with that one as the board cover. Okay. Now I need a description. Now I have a little cheat here. I have a tool called Harpa. I'm going to open Harpa. This is a Chrome extension that runs my ChatGPT. If you're on a Mac and you're using the new ChatGPT browser, that'll work. If you're using another AI browser, that'll work. I just really love Harpa. So, and I still like to work with Chrome extensions. So I'm still using Chrome versus a Mac browser that doesn't have the extensions right now. Okay, so I have something here. If I put this little slash, I can pull up my prompts, and I have some Pinterest board prompts. So Pinterest board ideas, Pinterest board description, board topics. So let me just start with this Pinterest board. And what it's going to do is it's going to give me a description for my Pinterest board. Explore creative ways to repurpose scrap fabric with these functional and stylish DIY projects. Whether you're a beginner or an expert crafter, this board is filled with fun ideas to turn leftover fabric into unique products. From upcycled home decor to custom accessories, you can create something special for what would otherwise be discarded. Okay. Now I'm going to go with that, but I'm not going to make that might be a little bit too long. So I'm just going to start with that. Now you can also change this to first person. Let me show you what it does. Change to first person. Again, I'm testing these. What person I'm doing a lot of blogs in first person. I'm doing them in second person. I'm doing them in third person to see what people like, what Pinterest responds to. But I'm kind of liking this whole first person angle right now. So look how it changed it. I love finding creative ways to repurpose scrap fabric into functional and stylish DIY projects. I don't like this. Whether I'm a beginner or experienced crafter, that's funny. So instead I would just say, create a new first person description, because what it did is it literally just converted our second person to a first person and didn't 100% make sense. So let's look at this. I love finding new ways to repurpose my scrap fabric into creative and practical products. This board, I like that, is my go-to spot for sharing all the fun and functional DIY projects I've discovered. Whether I'm making custom accessories, upcycling home decor, or experimenting with new techniques, I'm always looking for ways to turn leftover fabric into something special. If you're into reducing waste and adding unique touches to your space or wardrobe, this is a place to find plenty of inspiration. I love that. I really love that first person. I'm going to go with it. Okay. So put it here, and oh, it's too long. So let me see if I can just cut out that long one. That last part will probably do it. Yeah, there we go. And then I'm going to click done. Okay, but it doesn't stop here. The next thing you need to say is first go over to your Pinterest account and find everything you have that's got fabric in it, and make sure you move those pins over to this board or repin them to this board. Okay, so I would go to my craft board and I would type, let's do it. I'll show you. I'll go over to Pinterest. We go to saved, and I'm going to go to my, it's probably under my fun crafts board. I kind of like to put everything on one broad board and then move them over to their specialties later. Some people will start with their specialty and move it out to the broad boards after the fact. So I'm going to go to fun crafts. And I'm going to do a Command F to search, and I'm going to put scrap. See that? Now what that'll do is right here, it pulls up anything with the word scrap. Scrapbook ideas is not really relative to this board because we're doing fabric scrap projects. So I'm going to click the down arrow to go to the next one. Okay, this one here. I kind of already have that pin going to the same URL, the one we're working on. So let me see if there's anything else that would be new and unique. Where'd that one go? No Sew Fabric Scrap Basket. Perfect. That one's totally different. So I'm going to right click, open that in a new tab. And I want to make sure it's not AI modified because I'm just not repinning the AI modified right now. And here we go. This is perfect. So here's what I do at this point. I'm going to use another tool to schedule this out. If you're not using a scheduler, then you could just right now drop down, find the board you want, that scrap board, and you can just save it on Pinterest. It would look like this. Go down to your scrap fabric projects. I would click it and it would save it to the new board. But I'm using a scheduler so that the reason I'm using a scheduler is because I create a lot of pins and I want to make sure that my URLs are spaced about 7 days apart. My blog post. So if this links to a blog post, which it does, it links right here to this blog post. I don't want within 7 days that blog post to be shown again on my Pinterest account. That's how I'm doing it. It's kind of to prevent tripping spam filters. It's also because I want to give the previous pin to that URL chance to kind of go and start living on its own. Plus, I want to have all of my blogs kind of being repinned throughout the year so that there's no blog left behind, let's just say. So again, there's a million ways to do this. This is just my way. This is what I like to do. So instead, I would click right here on my little Tailwind extension. I'll put the link below for Tailwind. This is a tool I use that spaces my URLs at least a week apart. Sometimes I'll do some 30 days apart because it's not a super popular blog, but I want to keep it feeding. Or I can also schedule for like if this was pumpkins and whatnot, and we're already past October, I can actually go down here and just schedule this to start going out next year. Lots of ways to do this. This is why I like Tailwind. Okay, so what Tailwind just did is it gave me the pin title, it pulled in the pin description, it pulled in the correct URL. Now it just wants to know what board do we want to put it on. So we're putting it on that new board. So over time, our brand new board is going to start to build automatically without us doing anything step by step specifically other than creating new content, which is what I want. I want my older pins to do the work for me, and I want to do my own work when I'm creating new content. Does that make sense? Okay, so right here, we're going to save this as scrap fabric products. And then all I have to do is click schedule. And over here, there's a schedule that shows how many pins I want to post per day. And then up here, there's something global pin settings, shuffle your pins, but pin spacing, you can see right here. Oh, right now I have it going out every 21 days. I forgot I was testing something. So 7 days minimum is kind of my standard, but sometimes I'll say I have so much content going out right now that I can space these further. If I have created less content ahead of the game, then I might say, let's post them every 7 days so that I have more pins in the circulation. But I'm working what I kind of want is to have at least first quarter of the year kind of set. Everything's just feeding. That's why I'm what I'm doing with the automation, because I can get a lot of work done in a 2-hour time span in the morning, which is basically what I'm doing with Pinterest. I work an hour or two on it a day to kind of just keep that engine going. And I've got 2 accounts, 2 websites that I'm building right now. And so this is it. That is the formula. This is how you do this exact process. And you just rinse and repeat. Go back to your Pinterest account, pick the next pin, and you just keep doing that all the way through. One other quick thing, the other way to find your top performing pins is if you're using pin clicks and you have linked your account, there is a rank tracker that is built in, and pin clicks actually tracks your ranking for you. Okay. So what it does is it tells you the keyword. So here we go. Let me do what I haven't done yet. Shoe storage cabinet ideas. It tells me what I'm ranking. And then if I click over here, this November 26, 2025, it'll show me which pin it is that's ranking. I can open that pin the same exact way. I can look and see if it's got an AI modified tag on it. Okay, I may have deleted that one because of the AI modified tag. I'm not sure. But I'd have to go play around with these and take a look at it. But at least it'll tell you which pins are tracking. And then you can decide, let's do one more. Let's do this bag patterns to sew. That's an interesting one. Look, search volume. I didn't know that one. Bag patterns to sew has a search volume of 119,000. That might be a really good board for me. So I look at the pin. Oops, I want to open that in a new window. I wish they would do that automatically. So let me go back here. Bag patterns to sew. Right click on that November 26. Let me see if I do it that way. Open in a new tab. I just want my pin to open. Bag patterns to sew. Yeah, see, this is why I don't like to do it this way. To me, there's still there. Okay, so the other way I do it is I go down here to Account Explorer. This is a pro tool. I go to My Accounts, and I've put in my own account to follow. I like it from here better. It just works better than that rank tracker. I don't know why, but I'll show you. So I pull up Ballen Blogger. Okay, there we go. And we find what pin, search volume 65,000. So remember how I said anything over 20,000 I would be interested in, but I probably am not going to build one on shirt ideas. Let's look for another one. 20,000 cabin weekend ideas. That's an interesting one. So see how this one has a link to your actual pin? That's what I want.
This is a reminder.
Alexa, stop.
Check in for my cruise.
Check in for my cruise. Alexa was reminding me. Okay, here. So here's one, not AI modified, cabin 13, unique 13 cabin weekend activities. Okay. We see in pin clicks that it's ranking for the term cabin weekend ideas. Cabin weekend ideas has 20,000. That would be enough for me to create a new board. As long as I'm willing to create new content around it, right? So what do? I go right here. I go to create board, cabin weekend activities. And then here we're going to go to cabin weekend ideas. I messed it up. Cabin weekend ideas. I always cross check because I'm doing so much of this. I'll forget what I just did. Cabin weekend ideas. And I click create. Now, one more thing, how do you get more ideas for that board? That would be the one other thing that I haven't showed you that I think is so important. So what I do now, same thing, go back to me, go back to saved. Here's my new board, cabin weekend ideas. You're going to do the same thing here. You're going to click edit board. You're going to grab the board cover, which is the pin we just pinned, cabin weekend activities. And you can scroll that to wherever it fits for you. I'm going to click done. Then we're going to go up to Harpa, and I'm going to tell it to give me, you can type it in too, give me a first person description, including keywords, keep it short. So you can save your prompt. So you just create a prompt and then you can save it. You create a prompt, then you can save it. I love planning cozy cabin weekends filled with fun activities and relaxation. From rustic decor ideas to DIY crafts and easy cabin recipes, this board is packed with inspiration for the perfect getaway. Perfect. So we'll paste that in here. Now watch this. From here, you could say, now give me 10 new blog post ideas. And I'm going to say titles for this board. I'm going to save the board. Look at this. 7 cozy cabin decor ideas to make your weekend escape extra special. The ultimate packing list for a perfect cabin getaway. 5 DIY crafts to try during your next cabin weekend. 10 easy cabin recipes for a delicious weekend retreat. How to plan the perfect cabin weekend. This is it, right? This is everything you need. You could say, make it Christmas related. You could say, make it spring. You could say, so whatever your season is that you're working on, your holiday that you're working on, you can spin this into that, okay? Make it about pumpkins. So now you're in August, you're working on your Halloween stuff, and now you want that cabin weekend to still keep going, but now you're going to change it to pumpkins and fall and winter. You can do this with every single topic. You will never, ever, ever run out of ideas. And now, of course, you bring in your AI to help you create the article. And this is how the whole thing is done. Anyway, if you like this style of teaching, I'm Lori Ballen. I'd love to have you on my coaching program, and I will talk to you soon.